From first-year design to graduate student research, many projects in the FSDE incorporate some level of woodworking to build prototypes, test equipment, and more. The sliding compound miter saw, sometimes referred to as a chop saw, is commonly used when performing cross-cuts on dimensional lumber or narrow pieces of plywood. In this video, we will review safety precautions and procedures you should be aware of when using a miter saw to make simple cuts. Note that all rules and guidelines introduced in the FSDE General Laboratory Safety and Hand and Power Tool Safety videos will apply here. Never work with the miter saw without wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment, including safety glasses, hearing protection, and steel-toed footwear. Turn on the dust collector when making cuts, or wear an N95 mask. Do not wear gloves or jewelry when using the miter saw. If you are wearing long sleeves, roll them up tightly to keep them away from the rotating blade. The miter saw is only appropriate for making complete cuts through a workpiece, and only for cuts less than 10 inches or 25 centimeters long. Despite these limitations, the sliding compound miter saw can be a versatile tool in the shop. Most commonly, the miter saw is used to make cross cuts perpendicular to the long axis of the workpiece, in order to properly size lengths of dimensional lumber. However, you may also rotate the saw about its vertical axis to make cuts at miter angles up to 60 degrees. As the saw is rotated, it will also click into slots, or detents, at common miter angles, but you may pick other angles as you like. The miter saw can also rotate about the horizontal axis to make a bevel cut, which can be combined with a miter angle to make a compound cut. But these cuts are rarely acquired in the FSDE and will not be covered in this video. If you require a bevel or compound cut for a workpiece, ask a technician to help you. Ensure the work area is clean and tidy before working with the saw. Clutter and debris can quickly become hazards when the saw is turned on. Keep the fence as close to the blade as possible. This can prevent the blade from throwing or kicking the workpiece towards the back of the saw. The miter saw has a guard to protect your hands from the blade, which retracts automatically as you lower the blade to the workpiece. Never hold the guard back yourself. If the guard is missing, do not use the saw and inform a technician. Turn on the light to identify where the blade will cut the workpiece. Do not place anything under the guideline that you do not intend to cut. Mark where you want to make the cut using a straight edge. If one part is scrap, mark it with an X so you know or others know which piece to keep. Remember, measure twice to be sure before making a cut. Line up the saw guideline with where you marked the workpiece and firmly hold the workpiece down and back against the fence. Keep your hand at least 4 inches or 10 centimeters away from the guideline and blade at all times. If you start the saw with the blade at a lowered position, the torque of the saw may recoil or jolt the blade upwards. To avoid this, always start the saw with the blade in the upper position. Then, slowly lower the blade down to and through the workpiece, taking care not to push down too hard or too quickly. If you need to slide the blade out towards you to cut the full width of the workpiece, be sure to slide it out towards you before turning the blade on. Sliding the blade outwards with the saw rotating may cause the blade to jolt outwards towards you due to the torque on the blade. Plunge the blade fully through the workpiece before pushing it back into position to finish the cut. When the cut is finished, release the trigger and let the blade come to a complete stop before raising it out of the workpiece. This prevents the blade teeth from catching and throwing the workpiece or offcut, and also results in a cleaner cut. If the workpiece is too small to hold while keeping your hand 4 inches or 10 centimeters away from the blade, the piece should be clamped in place to avoid the hazard. If the workpiece is too small to be firmly held on both sides by the saw fence, it is too small to be cut with the miter saw safely. Ask a technician to help you make the cut using a different tool, or use a different workpiece. In contrast, if you are cutting a very long piece, ensure that it is fully supported on both sides. You do not want it to fall haphazardly to the floor once the cut is finished, or worse, just before the cut is finished. The miter saw is capable of making miter cuts at angles up to 60 degrees. To rotate the blade for a miter cut, release the lock and use the handle to move the blade freely. It should not need to be forced. If it does not move freely, consult a technician. Lock the blade and platform in place before making the cut. Prepare to support the workpiece. Never hold the workpiece on the side the blade is cutting towards. Always keep your hand on the open side with the widest angle. It doesn't matter if you are left or right-handed, never cross your arms. When ready, make the cut following all of the guidelines listed previously. When cutting multiple pieces of an equal length, it is sometimes convenient to clamp a stop block in place to get consistent measurements quickly. If using a stop block on one end of the workpiece, always hold or clamp the workpiece down between the blade and the stop block. Having a loose piece between the moving blade and a fixed block or fence can cause the blade to throw the loose piece backwards or towards you. This is known as kickback. Never leave a piece loose between the blade and a stop block. If you encounter any resistance when making a cut, do not push through it. Instead, stop the cut immediately and consult a technician. Pushing through the cut may result in the workpiece exploding or being thrown or damage to the saw. When finished cutting, clean the workspace of any offcuts, sawdust, or debris, so the next user will be working in a safe, clean environment. Thanks for watching.